Hello everyone, I'm Peter. Welcome to our space for true stories. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. We will select the best comments to send to the original poster op of the real Reddit story. We hope your insights help them overcome their challenges. Thank you for being part of our community. Please sit back and enjoy today's story. Ate for laughing in my SIL's face when she ran a DNA test on my daughter. I'm a 30-year-old man, and I have a 6-year-old daughter. There's absolutely no biological connection between us. We don't share any blood relation. I've been friends with her biological mother since childhood. We never had any romantic involvement. We were always just close friends. She had her daughter at 23 with her husband, who was 25 at the time. When my daughter was just about 3 months old, both her biological parents were killed. I'm not going into details for privacy reasons, but it was a workplace incident. Both my friend and her husband worked in the same building, and both lost their lives that day. Both of my friend's parents came from pretty rough backgrounds, and neither of them had siblings, so there were no immediate family members or relatives for their daughter to be placed with. Because of how close I was to them, I was able to adopt her. Even though the idea of raising a child was daunting and something I wasn't thrilled about at the time, I didn't want their daughter growing up in foster care or around people who had no connection to her real parents. So I stepped in. My family, my parents and siblings, know that biologically my daughter is not my own. My daughter, who I'll call Lily here for privacy, also knows that she's adopted. I never hid the truth from her. She knows that her parents died, and I've told her that they were taken by a bad person. I'm saving the details for when she's older and ready to understand more. Lily doesn't look anything like me. In fact, she's the spitting image of her biological parents. Most people assume she's my biological daughter and that she just takes after her mother. I've never really bothered to correct people when they assume this because it seems unnecessary. My brother has been with his fiancée, my SIL sister-in-law, for about 2 years. A few weeks ago, we all got together at my parents' house. My SIL saw an old photo of me with my friend and her husband. She pointed at my friend in the photo and asked who she was. I explained that she was Lily's biological mother. My SIL stood there for a while, staring at the picture. I didn't think much of it at the time. To clarify, she knew that my friend had passed away, but I guess she didn't realize that my friend had been married or that Lily wasn't biologically my daughter. I figured she just assumed Lily was my biological daughter with my friend. Here's where things took a wild turn. My SIL secretly conducted a DNA test on my daughter. She used my brother's DNA for comparison, and when the results came back showing that they were not related, she took that as confirmation that Lily wasn't biologically mine either. She then approached me with the DNA results and literally waved them in my face, accusing me of raising the illegitimate child of a dead woman. She said this in front of my daughter, mind you. I stared at her for a moment, dumbfounded, before I burst out laughing. I told her that I was fully aware that Lily wasn't biologically my daughter and that this little thing called adoption exists. Her face turned beet red and she stormed out. My brother was furious that I had embarrassed his fiancée, but I told him that she had embarrassed herself by conducting a DNA test on a child that wasn't hers and then flaunting the results in front of me. What did she want me to do? What was her goal in all of this? Was she hoping I'd break down and abandon my daughter? My brother claimed that she thought she was doing the right thing and called me an a-hole. I don't feel like I'm the a-hole here, especially considering that my SIL stuck her nose where it didn't belong. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole? Update. It turns out my brother thought I had an affair with Lily's mother and believed I was Lily's biological father. He had somehow convinced my SIL that I was romantically involved with Lily's mother and that I was in fact Lily's real dad. After seeing the photo of Lily's mother and her husband, my SIL thought Lily was the product of an affair between Lily's mother and me, and that I had been raising her under the false belief that I was her father. Eventually, my SIL came over to my house and apologized, explaining everything. Apparently, my brother had been the one who pushed her into getting the DNA test done. When I first adopted Lily, for some reason, my brother developed this bizarre belief that Lily was actually my biological daughter. He thought that I had been in a secret relationship with her mother and had kept it from everyone. He believed that when she got pregnant, Lily's mother told me that Lily was my child, but she would pretend that Lily was her husband's child, and I had agreed because, at the time, I didn't want to be a father. My SIL believed that I genuinely thought I was Lily's biological father. When she saw the photo of me with Lily's mother, she asked me who she was. After my response, she assumed that we had been together, and her suspicions deepened when she saw Lily's biological father in the picture and realized how much Lily resembled him. To clarify, I didn't tell her that Lily's biological father was also in the photo because she only asked about Lily's mother, and I assumed she knew that Lily was adopted. I had no idea my brother had been lying to her for nearly 2 years. She had the DNA test done out of her own suspicions, and my brother helped her because he thought the results would prove that I was, in fact, Lily's biological father. He manipulated her into thinking that the test would clear up all doubts, but in reality, he was just trying to confirm his own baseless theory that I had fathered Lily and had lied about the adoption. Of course, the DNA test results showed that I wasn't Lily's biological father, and my brother was wrong. He was too ashamed to admit to his fiancée that he had been lying about the whole situation, which is why my SIL confronted me with the results instead. My SIL also apologized for showing me the results in front of my daughter. She explained that her own mother had cheated on her father, gotten pregnant by another man, and tricked her father into believing that the child was his. Her father was devastated when he found out, and my SIL grew up with a deep resentment for women who cheat on their husbands. She told me that she had planned to sit me down and talk to me about it without Lily being present, but when she saw me with my daughter, she got angry, thinking I was being tricked into raising someone else's child. That's when she snapped and waved the results in my face. My SIL feels incredibly guilty, and she's furious at my brother for lying to her. I don't hold any anger toward her for running the test because she genuinely thought she was doing the right thing. I've even forgiven her for how she handled the situation, given that infidelity is a sensitive subject for her, and I can understand why she had such a strong reaction. I'm fairly certain that she's planning to break up with my brother now, and honestly, I don't blame her. When I called my brother to confront him about all of this, he admitted to everything. When I asked why he thought this way, he said he couldn't understand why someone who didn't want children at the time would be willing to adopt a child with no biological connection. He told my SIL that I was Lily's real father and that I had known all along. He even went so far as to tell her that Lily's mother and I were together when Lily was conceived. Both my parents and I have gone low contact with my brother for the time being. I know that eventually I will forgive him, but I can't do that right now. He assumed I was capable of something so morally low, having an affair with a married woman, getting her pregnant, refusing to take responsibility, and then letting her pass off the child as her husband's, only to step up after she died. It's a betrayal that's going to take time to heal from. To make matters worse, this situation has affected my daughter, Lily, more than I initially realized. After my SIL's outburst, Lily started asking questions that a 6-year-old shouldn't have to worry about. She began to wonder why people were doubting whether she was my daughter and what it meant that her parents were gone. I had to sit down with her and reassure her that she is, and always will be, my daughter, no matter what anyone says. But the seed of doubt had already been planted. She started asking more questions about her biological parents, things I had planned to talk about when she was older. Now, I'm forced to answer those questions much sooner than I wanted to, all because of this unnecessary drama my brother created. I've been thinking a lot about the impact this situation has had on Lily's sense of identity. Being adopted is already a complex experience for any child, and now she's dealing with the added burden of wondering if she belongs. She's been asking me about her biological parents more frequently, and while I've always been honest with her, I wanted to control the narrative as she got older, giving her more information gradually. But now, I'm forced to confront these issues head-on, and it's been emotionally draining for both of us. As for my relationship with my brother, I honestly don't know where we stand anymore. He's not just a sibling, he's someone I've always considered a close friend, someone I confided in. But now, I feel like I don't know him at all. How could he harbor such deep mistrust and doubt about me? It's hard to reconcile the image I had of him with the person he's revealed himself to be. I'm struggling to come to terms with the fact that someone so close to me could think so little of me. This entire experience has opened my eyes to how fragile trust can be, even within families. I never thought I'd find myself in a situation where I'd have to defend my role as a father to someone who should have known better. But here I am, and it's left me questioning everything. In the end, all I can do is focus on being the best father I can be for Lily. She's my priority, and I'll protect her from anything or anyone that tries to undermine her sense of belonging. I'll be there for her, guiding her through the challenges of growing up adopted and making sure she knows that she is loved unconditionally. As for my brother, only time will tell if we can rebuild the trust that's been shattered. But for now, I need space to heal, to reflect, and to focus on the most important person in my life, my daughter. Hello everyone, I'm Peter. Welcome to our space for true stories. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. We will select the best comments to send to the original poster op of the real Reddit story. We hope your insights help them overcome their challenges. Thank you for being part of our community. Please sit back and enjoy today's story. There's something wrong with my wife. I'm posting this here because my wife doesn't use Reddit, and honestly, she doesn't even know what it is. I can't talk to anyone else about it except my therapist. I've tried talking to friends and family, but none of them truly understand the gravity of what I'm saying. I'm a 37-year-old man, and my lovely wife is 36. We've barely had any issues between us. But lately, I've been noticing small things piling up to an almost terrifying level, and I'm not sure I can just brush it off anymore. She's amazing. She's done so much for me in this marriage and been so understanding that when I didn't want to be intimate after a painful experience, she respected that. She does little things to show she listens and cares, and I do the same for her. I want to be with her because we've been married for 10 years and she's all I know, but lately, I don't understand what's happening or why she's acting this way. The first noticeable time was when we found an egg on the curb. We assumed it was from our neighbors since they have chickens, and maybe it rolled away or something. Without a second thought, my wife crushed the egg underfoot. Now I wouldn't have minded if it was just an unfertilized egg or a regular cooking egg, but there was a full embryo visible, and I threw up. She laughed and said it was funny, and that at least the neighbors wouldn't have to worry about another chicken. I told myself it was just an egg and that she didn't know an embryo was inside, but her reaction afterward worried me. I brushed it off because, as I said, I love her. Maybe it was stupid, but I did. I really do love her. But things kept happening, and my love for her is faltering. Here are a few notable things I remember. We have a dog, let's call him Butter. Butter's the calmest dog ever, easy to take care of, and well trained. However, one time he got sick and irritable and had an accident on the carpet. My wife screamed at Butter. She yelled. I told her to stop because he was already hurt and sick. I cleaned up the mess and she never got mad at Butter again, but it made me question how cruel she was to him. I understand she was frustrated, but Butter started crying and tried to paw at her, and she just kept screaming at him. My mom passed away in 2020. Natural causes. but I was close to her, and it took me years to come to terms with it. I left her favorite bracelet on the table with her family photos. One day, it disappeared, and I panicked. That bracelet was handmade by my mom's grandfather, and she wore it daily. It was part of her. But when I told my wife, she said she had sold it. I sobbed. I wasn't even mad at her, just devastated. But then, soon after, the bracelet was back on the table, and when I asked her about it, she laughed and said, "You should have seen your face." When we were gardening, I dropped my keys. She was irritated because it was hot, and she had been planting flowers all morning. When she found them, she threw them at my face, and they cut my nose. She felt terrible, but that reaction disappointed me. Once, after work on Halloween, I was feeling particularly down for no reason. I don't blame her for this, but she pranked me and scared me, something we usually do on Halloween. I broke down crying because it felt like the last straw after my shift. She laughed, kept laughing, and then went back to the living room to watch TV. One time on Facebook, we learned a classmate had been in a car accident. I told her, and she shrugged, saying she didn't really know the person, so it didn't matter. I get that she didn't care about the victim, but the poor girl had been badly injured, and my memories of her from school were pleasant. She didn't deserve what happened. My wife and I enjoy horror. We're horror fans, but I cannot tolerate violence against animals. It disturbs me. So when we watched When Evil Lurks, as you can imagine, I was nauseous. What's odd is that she had already seen it, but wanted to watch it with me because she loved it. I'm glad she enjoyed it. But I would have appreciated a heads up, and I made that clear. She shrugged it off, and that was that. These are just a few things, but the worst happened just yesterday. I've tried to keep quiet, but this might be my breaking point. I was cleaning our room while my wife was at work, and I found a journal hidden under the mattress while changing the sheets. For some reason I opened it, and right away I realized it was my wife's. I would have put it back if I hadn't seen the words on the page. I was horrified. She wrote that while she was driving, a group of geese crossed the road. Annoying, sure, but you wait. My wife wrote that geese are useless, so it was fine if some got hit. Yes, she hit 2 geese on the road. Again, I was horrified. I know what people will say, so I'll answer a few questions. I love her. I realize some of her behavior is unacceptable and concerning. I realize that concern is why I'm here in the first place. But you have to understand that for the last 16 years, she's been my entire world. We dated for 6 years before marrying, and we've been married for 10. In those 16 years, I've watched her go through horrible things, and she's seen the same with me. It's hard to summarize those 16 years, but they were tough, and I've already said too much. I noticed the changes about 3 years ago. Even then, I didn't think it was an issue until I read that small journal entry. I can't leave her, but I can't act the same around her after discovering that. I know I need to confront her about what I've seen, but honestly, I'm terrified. I never knew she was capable of this until I read it and started piecing things together. Whatever's going on, I don't know what to do about it. She has a therapist, and so do I. She seems sincere, but I don't know how to handle knowing she's willing to kill an animal without any remorse. Honestly, I don't want to leave her. I met her when I was young, and all I know is her. She's seen me through the most vulnerable times of my life, and vice versa. Her family and mine are essentially intertwined. We all love each other. She's been in my life longer than she hasn't. If I have to leave her, I think it would be the end of me. That would be all I have. I'm 37, not old, but not desirable either. I don't even know why she fell for me because I don't think I'm desirable. I'm not sure if this post makes sense. I don't know if anyone will take the time to read about my struggles. My therapist is on vacation, so I can't talk to her yet. I need someone to talk to because everyone I've told brushes it off since my wife is so sweet to them. I just want to fix this. To answer some questions, when I said, "She's seen horrible things," I meant a family member of hers passed away, and a mutual friend of ours also died. But this didn't happen until months after. We don't have kids, and I've had a tough experience I won't go into, which made me realize I'm asexual. And I'll ask her soon. Update. Clearing up some things. Thank you for your comments and your time. It's been a long month, and I have a lot to say, but I can't stress enough how much your support and words, harsh or not, have meant to me. I'll say what's been on my mind lately, but if anyone new comes along, here it is. I'm leaving my ex-wife, Anna, but we're still living together while I pack. I'm not afraid of her anymore, so that's her name. I sat her down and talked to her. Everything I wrote and posted here was copy-pasted from Google Docs. I left out some details because they could identify both me and Anna. I showed it to her, and she was furious with me. I understand why. I shared details about our marriage and lives online. Her feelings were valid. But I started to get frustrated, listening to her vomiting excuses. She didn't interrupt or yell at me because I think she finally realized how much all of it had affected me. I begged her to listen, and to my surprise, she did. She admitted to me that she also noticed she's been changing, and talked to her therapist about it. Do I believe her? Not entirely. She said she was scaring herself and recognized her anger issues, and as some of you predicted, she didn't want to give up sex, so she cheated on me with some guy she met at work. Honestly, by the time she explained, I didn't care. Because I didn't. After everything, this was the least shocking thing. I actually asked Anna if she loved the guy she met, and she said yes, which broke my heart, but didn't seem surprising. I told Anna that if she didn't love me, I could divorce her, and we could figure out the separation and the family stuff. She agreed too quickly, but I was emotionally drained from working with her for so long that I didn't realize how little she valued our marriage, just tossing it away like it meant nothing. I just told her that for the next guy, she needs to get help. She agreed that she'd check herself into a hospital. Some of you thought it might be a tumor, but it wasn't. Her explanation was that the guy had introduced her to drugs. That's all I'll say on that because that's all she told me. At this point, I don't even care what the reason is because the effect is the same. Honestly, I'll always blame myself for not recognizing any red flags sooner. It should have never gotten to this point, and while it might not be my fault, I'm haunted every day by the thought that I could have been smarter and prevented her from doing everything she did. When I said she wasn't always like this, I meant it. She didn't give me a specific date when the affair started, so I can't pinpoint exactly when this all happened. I miss the woman from before, the sweet girl I knew for almost 2 decades. I know this is the right thing to do, but no matter how many times I tell myself that, it doesn't make me feel any better. For those asking, Butter is safe. He's a good boy, and he's staying with my sister while I pack up and move. My wife never physically hurt him, but she did yell at him a few times. It's heartbreaking not to have him around often because my sister lives 30 minutes away. But he's safe, and I actually saw him tonight. I've also informed my family about the situation. I didn't want to, but I knew it was necessary. They understand now and apologize for brushing it off. But to be fair, I downplayed it, so that could be why they didn't take it seriously. Her family also knows we're separating. As for me, I don't have many close friends, so I spend most of my time alone at home, thinking. It was our home at one point. I remember when we first bought it and how excited she was. My best friend and I will be going out to dinner, so that's something to look forward to. And she still admitted. I haven't heard from her since they took her phone at the hospital. I hope she can recover, but after everything my therapist, my family, my best friend, and you all have said, I can't stay with her. Breaking this off feels like ripping my own arm off. I'm devastated and still am. She seems distraught too, but I don't know what to believe anymore. I don't think she doesn't care about me, I think there's a part of her that still does. But maybe I'm deluding myself. Even after all this, I can't hate her. But I know loving her isn't good for me. Is it wrong to forgive her? To see things from her side? It hurts. It really does. I know nothing else but her. It feels like my life is over even though it's not. I don't want to date again, I just want to connect with someone else. It doesn't show how isolated I've been until I leave, and now I realize she's the reason I stopped reaching out to anyone. If I had to conclude this messy update, it would be this. I'll be okay. It's only been 2 weeks, but they've been the longest weeks of my life. I'm realizing there are more people around me who support and care about me than I thought. Honestly, it's hard to accept that Anna is troubled and didn't love me. Sometimes I still convince myself she did. But everyone around me says she didn't. And I'm slowly accepting that. That's progress. I've spent more than 16 years with this woman tormenting me, and I had a warped sense of reality. It's really not easy to experience any of this, and honestly, sometimes I want to go back to her. But I know that maybe I can find someone, man or woman, who will love me the way I need to be loved. I'm working through that in therapy, and honestly, I'm still afraid of Anna. But I'm thankful she was the catalyst for a new chapter in my life. I've learned a lot from this, mainly what love is and what it isn't. Thank you. You all have good insights into things. I can't say Reddit solved my problems, but I can say that leaving was the result of the extra push you all gave me. I wish Anna the best, wherever the future takes her. It's sad that the future won't include me, but I think that's for the best for both of us, given that she doesn't seem to love me and I'm now afraid of her. This will be the last update. I don't foresee any more unless something happens with her. I want to close this and move on. Hello everyone, I'm Peter. Welcome to our space for true stories. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. We will select the best comments to send to the original poster of the real Reddit story. We hope your insights help them overcome their challenges. Thank you for being part of our community. Please sit back and enjoy today's story. My husband's open marriage suggestion backfired on him. My husband, Leo, 34, and I, 30, have been together for 7 years, married for 4 of them. We don't have any kids and we don't intend to. 2 years ago, Leo asked me for an open marriage. I was devastated at the time. I couldn't understand why he didn't just want me. I couldn't even comprehend the idea of sharing him either. He gave me the same song and dance a lot of men give their spouses. Swore up and down that he loved me. I just wasn't fulfilling his needs. He needed more than what I could give. It was just to spice up our life. It was just sex, etc., etc. I did ask if there was someone else. He said no. To this day, I'm still not sure if I believed him. But at the time, I was angry and hurt and said no. He pestered me to change my mind for a week before giving me an ultimatum: open marriage or divorce. I chose the open marriage. I just couldn't bear the thought of him leaving me at the time. We have rules. We can't bring any partners home. We have to get tested for STD every 3 months. 1 weekend out of the month must be left free for us time. Any money we spend on / with our partners must come from our personal accounts. I didn't partake in the open marriage myself for the first 3 months. Leo obviously did right away. He seemed to be gone or out late almost all the time, but he always acted so happy and loving towards me while I felt like I was dying inside. It killed me to think he was sleeping with other women, and I felt so lonely and unattractive and not good enough. I told my sister Katie, 26, and a few close friends everything. Katie told me to just play his game and be part of the open marriage too. If he can sleep around, so could I. I honestly didn't have much confidence in myself at the time. I'm a bit overweight, and I've never considered myself conventionally pretty. I was afraid this would just humiliate me further. Katie and my best friend Jessie, 30, set up my online dating profiles for me. I got so many matches that it was overwhelming. When I told Leo, he was surprised, but told me to do whatever I thought was best. Jesse helped me choose my first date, and I actually had a great time. He didn't pressure me for sex and took me out to drinks and dinner. We did have sex eventually, but it was all just casual and we didn't see each other after a couple months of casual dating. That first guy really made me feel more confident in myself. So I kept going on dates with men. A lot of them wanted to treat me, so I didn't have to spend much of my own money. Not only that, but some of the men have given me the best sex I've ever had in my life. Almost like the kind of sex you read in romance novels. It's been amazing. I am currently seeing 2 different men alongside Leo. One, Mark 38, is more of a steady boyfriend I've been with for about 6 months, and the one, Steven 25, is very casual, mostly just hanging out and sex. They know about my open marriage/other relationships and are fine with it. My husband has not been so lucky. In the beginning, he definitely was. He was always out and about and didn't seem to care even when I started dating too. But now he just complains a lot and hasn't been going out much. He whines about how he's usually the one spending money. A lot of the women he tries to be with want an emotional connection before sex. He often wants to be with younger women, but they want younger men. He's also been upset that I go out with random guys so often while he's at home alone all the time. He hasn't asked to close the marriage yet, but I feel like he will soon. He keeps saying he misses us and wants to spend more time together. He tried to initiate sex a lot more too. He wants to go on dates and go on vacations and all that stuff more and more, and he gets upset when I tell him I can't because I've already scheduled to do stuff with my partners, mostly Mark. Honestly, I don't think I love Leo anymore. I care about him, but I just don't love him. I'm not saying I love Mark or Steven, but I honestly feel closer to Mark nowadays than I do Leo. Mark makes me feel comfortable and safe, and I love spending time with him more than my own husband. Steven is funny and sweet and really good at sex. Katie and Jesse have been wanting me to divorce for a year now, but I was afraid of hurting him and thought I still loved him. But I think my love for him died when he asked for this open marriage in the first place. Seeing him get all pissy about it now just because he's not benefiting from it is also a turn-off for me too. But I don't know if divorce is the best option. I still care about him and I still don't want to hurt him. Maybe if he finally asked to close the marriage, we can talk about it then. Update number 1. Hi everyone. I got so many comments and messages on my last post, which got deleted for some reason, that I was a bit overwhelmed. Especially when a lot of you kept saying the same thing. Divorce, divorce, divorce. But the thing is, I think a part of me does still loves my husband. I know in my last post that I didn't think I loved him anymore, but I can't just forget about the things that I do love. I love when he sings in the shower. I love when he laughs so hard he snorts. I love when he kisses my forehead when I've had a bad day. I love when he holds my hand when he watched TV together. Leo has done a lot of shitty things, but he really isn't the big asshole people think. Maybe that was my fault. But even if I do still love him, I'm not in love with him anymore. I don't think I have been for a while. I care about him, a part of me does still love him, but you all were right. I should have just divorced him when he gave me that ultimatum in the first place. This past Saturday, we had the big talk. I initiated it, but he didn't seem too surprised. I just told him that I noticed he didn't seem to like me going out with Mark or Steven and asked if there was a problem. He said there was. But he didn't ask me to close the marriage. He just asked me if I still loved him. I said something like, "Not like I used to." He broke down crying, which made me cry. I guess he had known for a while that I wasn't in love anymore, but he had hoped he could win me back if he funneled all of his energy into me. I was honest and told him that during those first 3 months of our open marriage, I think my love for him died, and I just couldn't get it back. I did tell him that I still cared about him and that I did love him, but it's not the same as it was. He asked if I loved Mark or Steven, and I said no. I like being with them and I care about them a lot, but I can't say I'm in love with either of them. I also finally asked him why he wanted the open marriage in the first place. A lot of you in the comments said he already had someone lined up, and you were right. He had someone at work he was interested in, and she wanted him too. The open marriage was just to get permission. He honestly never expected me to also get my own partners because of how unconfident I was, but he didn't want to stop me either because he thought nothing would come of it. He didn't really like me seeing other men, but he knew it wouldn't have been fair to tell me no when I gave him permission first. I guess Mark and Steven made him insecure because I was spending so much time with them on a regular basis. The open marriage was just sex on the side for him. He only did hookups, and they never lasted long. He genuinely always just loved only me, but he thought I was falling in love with my partners, and he was losing me and wanted to win me back. We cried a lot and talked a lot. We've decided to get a divorce. Since the house is in his name, I'm going to move out and live with Katie for a while. He told me I didn't have to and I could stay until the divorce was finalized, but I just can't. It's too hard to even look at him sometimes. I don't know how I feel, to be honest. I thought I would be relieved or sad, but I'm just tired. I wish I could have been like you all wanted me to be, clapping back or being sarcastic and snarky or rubbing it in his face, but I don't feel like I've won anything. I just feel lost. Update number 2. Hey, it's been a while. It feels like both lot and nothing has happened. I still have a lot of feelings, but I'm also just really tired. Leo and I are still in the middle of our divorce. It's been as amicable as a divorce can be. Since we mutually agreed to it and we had prenup, it's been pretty easy splitting everything else 50/50. My lawyer says I should be divorced by the end of the year. Leo is insistent on giving me alimony, but I'm not really interested. Thanks to a lot of people making me think about Leo's explanation for the open marriage, I did approach him about it again and asked him to be 100% honest with me about that girl from work. He admitted there was more to it than he admitted. This is what he explained to me, and I have decided to believe him. Even if he's lying, it doesn't really matter anymore since we're getting divorced. I also just have little energy to care about the details at this point. According to him, this is the timeline. He was posting on Reddit about his kinks for advice and such, which I did know about beforehand. He was getting messages from this one user, and they just kept talking back and forth. He mentions my name to the user in a conversation, which he let me read. During his lunch break, his coworker, I'll call her Mary, approaches him and asks if he uses Reddit and asks about his handle. He confirms, and then Mary tells her he's the user he's been talking to. They start talking more and more in real life as friends, and eventually start talking through IG. He also showed me these conversations. The conversations were mostly just memes and jokes with occasional flirts/mentioning of kinks. At one point, she says it's too bad he's not single. This is when he decided to demand the open marriage because Mary was clearly into him and into the same kinks, and she could sexually satisfy him, since I was unable to. That's how he basically said it anyway. Truth be told, we did have some bed difficulties before the open marriage was brought up. I'm very vanilla, and he discovered his kinks after we were married. I tried them all for him, but I just couldn't get into it, and he didn't like seeing me struggle, so he didn't try to bring them into the bedroom again after it was obvious I didn't like it. So, we did have sexual compatibility issues. Maybe we were doomed to fail, even without the open marriage ultimatum. Our families, outside of my sister, were shocked when we told everyone we were getting a divorce. They always thought we were so happy and in love. My mom blames me, which I expected, but it still hurts. They don't know about the open marriage, and Leo and I plan to keep it that way. I think he is ashamed to tell them. I am too, if I'm being honest. I really thought Leo was the love on my life. He was my first for almost everything. I said we were together for 7 years, but we were friends since college. I've known him for nearly 12 years, and we're about to become strangers soon. I still mourn my marriage, even though Katie and Jesse keep telling me this is for the best. They're both definitely thrilled, they don't hide it, but they also know this has been a weird time for me. I just don't know how to feel. I thought I would feel free or relieved or heartbroken or something, but I just feel weird. Like I lost a part of myself and I don't know how to get it back. I'm still living with Katie, but I'll be moving out soon. I found a 1-bedroom apartment that's near Jesse, so I won't be completely alone. Mark offered to let me move in with him, but I declined. Honestly, we're kind of on standby. He knows I'm having a hard time processing my feelings about my husband and the end of my marriage. I think he wants us to be official, but I don't know. I really do like Mark and I don't want to lose him, but I feel like I need to figure myself out first. As for Steven, we ended our relationship at the beginning of August. He got a job offer in another state and took it. Even though it was casual, I did cry a little. Steven is a great guy. Whenever he does decide to settle down into something serious, the woman who gets him will be a lucky one. We've been texting here and there, but it's mostly just sending each other TikToks and polite, "Hope you're doing well" messages. Some people asked me if I wanted to go back to monogamy, even after experimenting and clearly getting into this poly relationship I had going on. And the answer is yes, I do. Even though Mark and Steven were great and I met plenty of great guys during my open marriage, I don't know if I've really been happy with myself or my choices. I also think I felt guilty a lot too, like I was somehow cheating on Leo, Mark, and Steven, even though it was all consensual. Polyamory and open relationships may work for some people, but it's really just not for me. Jesse says I need to get a therapist. I have tried looking, but finding a therapist that's both available and seems like a good fit is a pain. Hopefully I can find one by the time the divorce is settled. I also want to figure out what to do about Mark on my own. I don't want to lead him on and give him false hope. Maybe we should take a break, or maybe I should tell him to just break up with me. He should find his own happiness without worrying about me. Thank you all for taking the time to read my post and for sharing your helpful advice with me.